Welcome to the Fortified Life Podcast, where we learn how to develop a dependency on Jesus in the marketplace. From the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. Here's our host, author, speaker, teacher, encourager, stewardship coach, and my husband, the man they call Mr. Fortified, Jason Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fortified Life Podcast, where we are passionate about integrating faith into the business and work that we do. Every single week, we get to bring on personalities, influencers, CEOs who are passionate about the same thing. And it's no different this week. Of course, I'm your host, Jason Davis, aka Mr. Fortify. We've got a really exciting episode today. This has been a long time coming, and someone who I've enjoyed his content for a long time, and he's finally on the show with me. Before I bring him on, let me introduce him to you. George Kamel is a financial expert who will help you spend less, save more, and avoid money traps so you can build wealth and live life on your terms. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Fortified Life Podcast, George Kamel. George, what's going on, man?
Wow. Guys, sit down. Standing ovation, not necessary, but so kind. I feel like I need a nickname now. You have Mr. Fortify? That's so cool.
George, I have no doubt that somewhere in, I don't know if it's basement level of Ramsey, they're like cooking something up as we speak. So I bet if you search hard enough and long enough that they've already got it prepared.
How about Mr. Bougie Frugal? Do you like that
That's
one?
pretty good.
All right. That's my best so far.
I like it. So folks, Mr. Bougie Frugal and Mr. Fortify, we're coming at you for today's episode. I love it. George, all we needed is the 1996 Chicago Bulls entry music. That's all. I'm gonna
go watch Space Jam right after this.
Right. That's all we need. I love it. Well, George, we'll get into all the different things that you do, but just you have an awesome backstory. We know the work that you do at Ramsey, but kind of take us back on your story. You got a really cool, unique story, you and your wife, but just take us back to how everything got started and where you're at today.
Well, it was a meandering journey, as many people find themselves in, and I grew up Arabic Baptist in an Irish Italian Catholic town outside of Boston. And so immigrant parents got dunked into this like weird corner of religious upbringing, being Arabic Baptist, evangelical Baptist, just to add another layer on top of that. And my parents didn't learn about money. They kind of adopted the American money cultures and mantras and habits, which was, let's get some payments, let's get some credit cards, and let's go. And so they were very frugal. So I'm really good at that. That's in my DNA. But I fell for a lot of the money traps. So I ended up with 36 grand in student loans after college, $4,000 in credit card debt as I tried to build my credit score. And I was miserable. I was 23, broke, frustrated, cynical, angry toward, the misguided guidance counselors, the well-meaning parents, the society at large. It was everyone else's fault. And I decided something had to change. And that's where Ramsey intersected my life. And I got on the baby steps and did all the hard work and side hustles. And I climbed out of $40,000 in debt in 18 months. And over a decade of following the Ramsey plan, I went from broke to millionaire, now with my wife, Whitney, who I met at Ramsey. So that's the Spark Notes. I'm here to tell people, scream from the rooftops, that if it's possible for me, it's possible for the average American, because I was, and in a lot of ways am, the average American, except in height. I'm almost there. 5'6" on a good day.
On a good day.
On a good day.
George, we know that you walk around 6'2", so that's all that matters.
Thank you.
George, in spirit, absolutely. George, you said a couple things interesting there. You talked about you and your wife, Whitney. Obviously, 10 years, we know that you just didn't wake up and here we are. So as you answer questions on the Ramsey show, what did it take though for you, husband and wife, getting on the same page? Dave talks about all the time. You have the I've had it moment, but what was it like to really come together and say, you know what, it's time for a change? Yeah.
Well, my kind of broke journey, I did solo while I was still single. By the time I had met my wife, I was out of the consumer debt, and she was better looking, smarter, and better with money. And so we started off our marriage debt free. But the I've had it moment came at 23 when I was a victim of identity theft, and I owed, quote unquote, $1,700 on these cell phone accounts across the country, and I had debt collectors calling me. So I pulled my credit report, and for the first time ever, I actually saw the real debt that I owed. And I had never really added it up. I was like, oh my gosh, I got 12 student loans out there. This one's subsidized, this one's unsubsidized, across all these different companies. Here's my credit card debt. And it just put that pit in my stomach because the debt was more than my income. For my starter salary, getting started out of college and my big boy job here at Ramsey. And that freaked me out. And that really, I had to make a change. It was a fork in the road of going, okay, I could keep living this way, or I could try out a proven plan instead of George's plan, which up until that point had not been working for me because it got me to where I was. So that was a really big paradigm shift I had to make, kind of deprogramming all the money myths that I had learned, kind of dropping the shame and baggage from the mistakes that I had made with zeros on the end, and being willing to take in new information and to create new habits like budgeting and making deep sacrifice after, when you're in your adult stage after college, that's when you want to let loose and have fun and go, I'm an adult now, I make real money. And then you go, nope, I got to clean up the mess that I've been making for the last, 4 or 5 years. And so that was a tough pill to swallow. But like I said, 18 months into it after sacrifice, then I had some real freedom. Then I had some real financial foundation under me. And that's where things got exciting, where I was starting to build for the future instead of pay for the past.
That's bars right there. Build for the future instead of paying for the past. My God, George. George, you also, what's very evident in your story, you probably heard of the book, The Millionaire Next Door. If somebody just saw George Kamel just in the grocery store, they wouldn't know, wait a minute, I'm amongst the millionaires. So just talk about the reality of reaching that, George. You all talk about it on the show at Ramsey, but you put in the hard work, you were consistent, and you're able to reap the fruit of your labor. So just talk about that, because there's a lot of people still skeptical. Is this stuff even real? Is there hope? So just speak to that part, George.
Yeah, being a millionaire is such a fun milestone, and it's also hilarious because your life doesn't change that drastically. It's not like I'm retired with a yacht. I still got to take the dogs to daycare, and I got a little girl now and pay for the diapers and the formula. But what the millionaire status did for me was it gave me hope that it was possible for others too. And it's less about the external. Most people think of millionaires, they start to think of a flashy lifestyle. But what they don't think about is the internal, the emotional, mental freedom you have, the choices you get to make inside of your own home. And it's less about the car you drive and the purses and the clothes and I'm a dad now. Like, I'm not going out as much. There's not as much flashiness to be had. I'm wiping butts, whether it's my dogs or my baby. And so that keeps me real humble. But the freedom it gave us was the fruit of our labor we now got to witness, because 1 month ago, my wife decided to stay home and retire from her 9-year career here at Ramsey, this place that she loved, a job that she loved, the people she loved, because she felt this calling to raise our daughter, which is a very noble thing to do. And while it was an emotional decision, a relational decision, it wasn't a financial decision. And that's something that we were very intentional about. We wanted to pay off our home and become millionaires, not so that we could brag or be flashy, but so that we had more margin and options and freedom in our life. Freedom to have her end her career if she wanted to. And so that was a huge, huge blessing in our life. And it's not something that you post bragging on Instagram like you would about, a fancy car, but it's something that truly will impact our family and legacy for generations to come. And so that's what being a millionaire is really about. It's about freedom, not about a flashy lifestyle.
Freedom, flexibility, options. Well said, George. George, you talked about your journey, and then you come to Ramsey, but we know that you weren't always a Ramsey personality. So talk about just that coming up through the organization and then stepping out into the 6'2" that you talk about stepping into that and what you did prior to becoming a Ramsey personality.
Yeah, I started with a very, kind of hustle and grind mentality coming out of college, and I was willing to do anything. And that included becoming an intern. And I had already graduated college, so the good folks at Ramsey said, hey, we legally can't make you an intern. We can't give you college credit when you aren't in college. And so they were kind enough to find me a temp job. And so I was working a 20-hour-a-week temp job while interning, and I was just willing to do whatever it took to show them that I meant business, that I cared, that this was a place I wanted to plant roots at. And that turned into a full-time role back in July of 2013 in the marketing department. So I was doing email marketing, firing off newsletters, building them, coding them. And truthfully, I didn't really know what I was doing. I got a book on Amazon about HTML and CSS, and I just read that every night, and I convinced them that I was capable. And many people out there, they relate to that. It's kind of the like imposter syndrome, fake it till you make it. But I was really putting in the hours and the effort to do whatever it took to show them that, I was going to be faithful in whatever was in front of me. And so I spent 2.5 years in email marketing. I moved into our first ever social media coordinator role for the Ramsey personalities, it's ironic now being on the other side, being a Ramsey personality. I started my role working for the Ramsey personalities. And so I was always attracted to someone who had a message, who wanted to deliver it in a creative and entertaining way to impact people. And that's what I get to do now instead of get to help someone do it. And so that's a huge honor in and of itself. But my first, 4 years here or so was spent in marketing. And then in July of 2017, I stepped into Ken Coleman's old role, who you've had on this show, and I became a host and MC. And that opportunity came about because I was in bands during our Battle of the Bands, our internal company event. We form cover bands, we compete against each other, we have a great time. Well, I was sick of losing every year. I would be like second or third place with my cover band. And the hosting was so bad and abysmal that I raised my hand and said, "Can I try my hand at hosting? Will you give me a shot?" And so I got on stage and I transitioned and I came up with comedic bits and videos and slides and fake ads and sponsors. And it was so fun. And I was so faithful in that role that they gave me a little more rope. And that turned into plucking me from, the marketing department into an host and MC role. And so I became the host for all of our live events, the host of the Ramsey Show video channel live stream at the time during the breaks. And that kind of put me in a different spot where I had more opportunity and more room to grow and to shine. And so all of that was little more rope. Hey, will you do this podcast? Hey, will you do this over here? And so I was the Borrowed Future podcast host, started hosting my own podcast called The Fine Print. And by the launch day of that podcast, I was officially a Ramsey personality, and it was my first day co-hosting the Ramsey Show alongside Dave Ramsey, and we were off to the races. And it's been about 3 years since that day.
Wow. George, you've come full circle, and I love that everything that you worked on, all of the skills and talents that were developed, and here you are still serving. And the attitude and the disposition you have, and having a lot of fun while doing it. So George, I can't help but pinch myself and wink as I hear that, like, man, it's that hard work, that dedication, and you're living your dream. So I love that, George.
Thank you. Well, it reminds me of that quote. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, and they underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. And both with my career journey, which I've been here 11 years now, and my financial journey, which was the same amount of time, I'm just as shocked as anyone about how far I've come. But the same principles apply. It's intentionality over time, with discipline, with focus, with putting the blinders on, avoiding the distractions, just being faithful every single day. And I think that there's a lesson to be learned there that applies to every area of your life, whether it's your career or your finances. Nobody wakes up and accidentally wins the Super Bowl, as Dave says. This is a journey. And if people want to get rich quick, they're going to get burned even faster. If they want to get promoted tomorrow, they're probably going to get fired even faster. And so there's a lesson to be learned in the slow and low, which I think is so biblical, because, Jesus was never in a rush in the Bible. And, Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. There's just this theme in the Bible of just, you got to toil under the sun for a long time in order to see the fruits of your labor. You reap what you sow, and that's not a quick process. And I love that mentality when it comes to wealth and anything else in life.
My goodness, George, powerful. You reminded me of another quote. I can't remember the gentleman, but he said, at times we live a NASCAR life trying to follow a savior who walks.
Ooh, I like that.
So that's what exactly you
That's our
reminded me of
culture.
that. It
I talk
is.
about that in my book, Breaking Free from Broke, with the analogy of crock pots and microwaves.
Hmm.
And I think we were created to be more like a crock pot, slow and low, not rushing, disciplined, consistent, versus the microwave, which, you put popcorn in for 2 seconds too long, it's
Hmm.
turned to a crisp.
Yeah.
And so that's culture today. We are frazzled, we are fried, we are burnt out, and it's because we're not doing the right things at the right pace.
Mm. That's a perfect segue too, George, because your faithfulness and dedication and opportunity led you to publish your book, Breaking Free from Broke, the ultimate guide to more money and less stress. You already talked about this whole, the microwave generation we live in. What was the inspiration for the book, and what's kind of the key central message? Albeit many, but what's kind of the key message you'd like for readers to take away?
Well, for years now, the sort of complaining, the zeitgeist of culture has basically said the little man can't get ahead. And that kind of Eeyore spirit animal has just taken over the culture. And there's so much cynicism. And I end the book talking about that idea of hope versus cynicism and how cynicism is just negativity wrapped in fear. And that's
Mm,
most of culture. We're very negative, we're very scared, and we're desperate. We're making bad decisions. We have this YOLO mentality, or we have our head buried in the sand. And I have this crazy idea, because I've lived it, that you can break free from this toxic money culture, that you can rise above it, that it's not all your fault, but it's your responsibility. And that hope is still out there. And it's a choice you can make every single day. And so as I've seen all of, social media just got especially in the financial space, there's a lot of negativity, especially for the younger generations, that it's everyone else's fault. And here's all the places we're going to point our fingers. And yet no one's holding up a mirror going, hey, what is my role in all this?
yeah.
Am I the problem too? Because if I'm the problem, then I could be a solution here. I can affect some change. And that's why I wrote this book. I'm tired of America being land of the free and home of the broke. Like, we were made for
Mm,
more. Life is too short to live with money stress. And there's another way if you're willing to live counterculturally. But first, you got to realize that debt is not your friend. And so for the first 2/3 of the book, I unpacked our culture of debt, of
mhm.
where we stand today, where it all started, how to avoid it all. And then the last third is kind of how do you break free from this toxic system that is so part of the American culture. And that's where we talk about how budgeting is freedom and spending is self-control and margin is breathing room and generosity is joy and wealth is patience. And all of those principles were guided by, this is the sort of like cheat code. If you don't know, this is just for your listeners, by the fruits of the spirit. And that's where I start the book. Underneath the title, I've got the verse right there from Galatians.
Mm,
And I found that most people, that we want to talk about money so we can stop talking about money. And that's why I wrote this book, because I feel like life is more than just money. It's more than just dealing with stress. It's more than just building wealth. We want to be people of character who have that serenity and joy and generosity and self-control and patience in our life. And money is an obstacle holding us back from living the life we want, from living a life we're not exhausted by. And so if we can turn that obstacle into a tool that can actually serve our families and our communities and the kingdom, man, now we've unlocked something special here. And the earlier you do that, the more time you have on God's green earth to make an impact and leave a legacy you're proud of. And I don't know
mm,
who could disagree with that, whether you're a
right.
person of faith or not. Like, that's what we all want. And
Mhm.
money's just holding us back from that. So that's why I wrote the book. If I can help people unlock that, get that paradigm shift, create the new habits, get out of debt, build wealth with confidence, now we can focus on things that really matter.
Say amen, George. That'll preach. I've got my copy already, but George, where can listeners get their copy of your book?
RamseySolutions.com. You can click on the store. That's a great place to go. It's also available wherever great books are sold, Amazon. We did the team did a killer job with the audiobook. I read it myself, but we did all the sound design, and I sat in the room as we fine-tuned the editing and the design around it to kind of bring this book to life. And so if you enjoy audiobooks, highly recommend you check out the audiobook version of Breaking Free from Broke. You can get it on our website as well as Audible. And so we had a lot of fun creating a conversational book that was funny, but also heartfelt and chock full of stats, research, and information. So this is the book of financial literacy you can hand to someone you love, or, read it yourself to go, finally, someone who just said it in a way
Mhm.
I understand it, who cut through all the crap and noise of the culture today. That was my ultimate goal.
Mm. folks, straight from the author himself. You know where to find it. We'll also have all the information from George. We'll have it in the show notes as well. So don't you worry, as George is dropping these nuggets of wisdom, we'll have all of the links for that. George, you talked about the production value of the audiobook, but we know that you love video, and the videos you make on your YouTube channel. I mean, George, it's literally exploding. When I hear the other personalities talk about, man, George has got sound effects going. And so talk to us about the show on YouTube and how you can kind of dig in a little bit further on certain financial topics.
Yeah, I mean, everyone listening knows about the Ramsey Show, which is the kind of GOAT. It's the financial call-in show that Dave started 30 years ago. And over time, as I came on board, I always loved to be the guinea pig who wanted to kind of break things, try new things. And I went, man, what if we had like a YouTube channel that was video first, where it was appointment watching. You had to be watching instead of just listening. And so we made it very visual. We include memes and clips and graphs and charts and funny, all kinds of funny stuff to bring a lot of humor and entertainment value to the financial space, which is lacking, to say the least. If you watch a financial video, it's like you just want to kind of fall asleep most of the time. And so these are short, 8, 9, 10, 11-minute videos 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, highly produced, very entertaining, but always you're going to walk away with some hope, a little smile on your face, and you will have learned something. And so that was the goal of the YouTube channel. And we just celebrated 1 year of the YouTube channel being out there, the George Kamel YouTube channel. And we surpassed 200,000 subscribers in that first year, which is, I mean, it's a testament to the team, to Dave's platform, to the viewers. And I have like a little bit to do with it, but not that much in comparison. And so it's such an honor to see, when you have an idea, of course you want it to work. But I would have been proud with no subscribers because I'm so passionate about this and proud of what the team has created. But the fact that the response has been this incredible, and that it's the fastest growing show on the Ramsey Network, is just incredible. And so can't wait to make more of that. We got 3 a week. And of course, we've got other shows as well. So they got me busy around here, Jason.
I hear you, George. So we've got the Ramsey Show, George's YouTube channel, but George, we know that's not it. And yet, and still.
But wait, there's more.
There is more. His partner in crime, Rachel Cruz, you all have the Smart Money Happy Hour. Now, George, a concept unto itself. Talk to us about the conversations you and Rachel have and how this show adds a further dynamic on the conversation about money.
Yeah, this is the podcast you can send to friends who don't know who Ramsey is and are not interested in listening to financial calls. And money is just sort of happens to be a thing we talk about in the midst of laughing and 2 friends having a good time. And it all started because I would be a guest on Rachel's YouTube channel, and we had so much fun laughing together while teaching people about money that the team was like, hey, I wonder if this could be its own show. Like, could we make a really conversational, laid back, non-scripted show where you two just sort of guide us along with a certain topic and weave in pop culture and money into that over a drink? And the purpose of that over the drink was just to make it feel even more casual and low-key and entertaining. And so sometimes we'll do a mocktail, sometimes we'll do a cocktail, but you are guaranteed to laugh because we have some hilarious moments. It's the most me I get to be at work. This is the hair down podcast where you can go on your walk, go on your run, be in the car, listen with your kids, and we're all going to have a good time. So it's been hilarious to see, 7-year-olds that love it and 67-year-olds that love it. And how did we create a show for everyone by accident? So that one airs every Thursday. It's on video as well, on YouTube, podcast, Spotify, you name it. And it's one of my favorite things we get to do here.
I love it. George, in particular, I appreciated the episodes of you riding around in the Tesla. So those
yes.
were really fun.
Our millionaires in cars getting coffee. We kind of ripped off Seinfeld. The lawyers haven't come at us yet, which is good. But I just wanted a fun, casual environment where I could talk to real life millionaires and see what are their views on wealth. How do they get there? And these are not all, Ramsey personalities. Some of them have been. We had Dave on, which was a very popular episode. We've had Alex Hermosi. We had Graham Stephan, of course, Rachel Cruz. And we're even going to start to delve into having real life baby steps millionaires, just our
Very cool.
fans who are able to build this nest egg and net worth by following our principles. And I'm excited to bring that to life too. And so that's one of the segments we do on the channel. So be sure to subscribe over there, and you're guaranteed for a good time. I love meeting people who are saying, man, you filled my algorithm. Now it's all George videos. I'm like, it's working. It's all working.
I love it. Well, George, we're getting ready to close out here, but there's always a burning question I have, especially for the folks at Ramsey. George, is there anything you can tease or tell us that may be in the works for later on in 2024? I don't want you to get in trouble, but what can you tell us?
I'll give you two things that
Okay.
I'm just starting to work on. They may not even come to fruition in the next year or two. But number one is a wealth community. As I've been doing this, people don't want to hear about retirement as much, but there's a lot of young people who they're hungry, and they've seen their parents work jobs they hate to hopefully retire with a pension or some Social Security. And I'm finding that there's a lot of really sharp young people who are doing a really good job, and they just need some guidance when it comes to building wealth with confidence, with peace. And so I'm working on a concept where we can build this sort of community of people cheering each other on, giving each other advice, helping them step into investing with confidence and home ownership, and what does it look like to accomplish these kind of big, hairy, audacious goals. So that's something I'm going to try to step into in the next year, as well as the frugality side. Everyone knows that kind of the frugal millionaire is how I like to see myself, and that kind of content, millionaire content on YouTube, always a big hit for us, and then the frugal content, always a big hit for us. And those are two things I love to talk about: is how do we build wealth, and how do we become smart spenders who are very intentional with our money. And so I'm working on a new sort of idea, product, thing, site that can help people spend more wisely when it comes to their everyday decisions. Because we talk about budgeting as a daily habit, but we got to go buy, vacuums and mattresses, and who do we trust in this area? And so I'd love to build one trusted place that's sort of the one source of truth where people can find the best deals, save a bunch of money, find trusted services. And so that's a really exciting thing we're looking at stepping into that I can tease right now. That's all I can say. It's honestly all I know. That's as far as we've got. But I'm excited to just help people, be more intentional with their saving, with their giving, with their investing, and with their spending.
George, I appreciate you teasing that a little bit. I know it was difficult to hold back certain details, but folks, you hear new things all the time here on the Fortified Life podcast. One last question, George. This may be the biggest question of all.
Oh boy.
What kind of hair gel do you use to keep for the upkeep?
Is this for you, or are you asking for a friend?
I'm asking for a friend.
Okay. Well, I don't gatekeep, so I will tell you, this is right here. If you're wondering how to get this coif, it's Kevin Murphy Freehold, along with some very technical blow drying technique.
I love it.
That's it.
That's it. That's a mic drop right there.
What's your secret? Or do you gatekeep yours?
I do not. Honestly, I get a shadow fade haircut, George, and I keep it nice and tight and low. The missus prefers it that way. During the pandemic time, when a lot of the places were closed, I kind of had the afro going, and she said, please, you took me back to when you were like early 20s. I don't want you to go back to that.
I thought that was romantic, harken back to simpler times.
Exactly.
Well, you look clean, my guy, and you do a great job with this podcast, helping people, especially with the faith underpinning. That's huge here at Ramsey Solutions as well. Yeah. And it gives us a much bigger reason than just let's help people get out of debt. When you get to say, let's show them the reason we're here on this earth and kind of impact we can have, that creates a much different sort of ecosystem to create content and a different reason to wake up every day.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, George. George, one more time, just where can people follow you on social media and connect with all your content?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from your viewers and listeners at George Kamel. That's Kamel. You can reach out to me on Instagram or X or Facebook. I'm in all those places, but Instagram's a great place to send a DM. Let me know you listen to the Fortified Life podcast. That'd be really fun. So that's a great place, as well as RamseySolutions.com. You can keep up with everything we got going on, from the latest events and books and products and what we're up to.
I love it. Well, George, thanks for taking time out to hang out with us here on the Fortified Life podcast.
Thank you so much, Jason. Have a great day.
You too, folks. That's all we have time for on this show. We'll catch us next time on the Fortified Life. You know how we end things. Don't compartmentalize your faith and the marketplace. And from the boardroom to the bathroom, God is with you. We'll see you next time on the Fortified Life.
Thank you for listening to the Fortified Life Podcast. You can catch us live on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and on demand. Check out fortifiedlifepodcast.com for more details. To learn how to live out your faith in the marketplace, grab a copy of Jason Davis's book, Fortified, Being Rooted in God's Plan for Work and Business, available on Amazon.